folks, we're at it again up here in the mountains of Vermont, and today we're going to kind of a unique place. The tops of these mountains have never been very good for farming, though that didn't stop people from trying. But something that Vermont is very good at growing is trees. If you look at aerial maps of the Vermont mountains, it is just absolutely littered with old kilns for making charcoal. Now, I've metal detected a few charcoal operations up here, never had very much luck, and I saw this place on one of my maps and I just never asked the landowner permission because I didn't have high hopes for it, but he reached out to me and said, "Hey Brad, we have this charcoal operation up here. There's a couple of old kilns that are still standing. It turns out that a family purchased this land and lived in one of the buildings that was up here, which was probably the office. And then there was a generation of people that lived up here and then disappeared probably the early 1900s. So I said, all right, we'll come check it out. We'll come do some metal detecting and see what we can find. So we're probably going to find things from both the logging operation and from a home, a family lived up here. We've got a ways left to go on up the mountain. Well, we made it. You see the cellars behind me. There's some stone walls around this property. Looks like they probably tried to turn this place into a farm after it was already clear cut. So lots of place to swing the metal detector. Let's get it out and see what we can find. All right, well, I've dug probably 20 holes, a couple bottle caps, modern bottle caps, but also it's all been this. This is like a sheet brass. It sounds amazing on the metal detector, gets you excited every single time. And it seems like this was probably the roof, and it's broken apart and scattered everywhere here. It's going to make for a rough day if we stick around the building. We might have to venture off into the surrounding fields to try to get away from this stuff. We're going to pick through it for a little bit while longer. We're going to do the best we can, and hopefully we can find something that isn't this. All right, well, we just got our first target that is not that, whatever it is, sheet metal, sheet brass, probably a roofing of some kind. And it sounded just like it. It came out of the hole. I still thought that's what it was. But check it out. This is a flattened tailor's thimble. Slightly different from the thimbles we're used to seeing that has a top. This is meant to go through with the tip of your finger exposed. Gives you just a little bit more dexterity when sewing. And I grew up always thinking a thimble was meant for protecting your finger from pinpricks. Turns out, as I have learned, a thimble's real purpose is to push a needle through whatever it is you're sewing. That's what all these dimples are for. It catches the back of the needle and it pushes it through. Kind of cool. A little tailor's thimble. All right, well, this is a good sign that it's not just sheet metal here. Maybe we can find some more stuff like this. All right, well, this isn't really anything special. I just haven't found much but that brass stuff recently, so I wanted to show it. I believe this is the lid to like a salt shaker. This looks like there's a lot of iron here, so I'm wondering if the container itself was an iron material. I don't know. It's pretty weird. Imagine if I get all this stuff out in here, there'll be threads. I assume it's a salt shaker, but we kind of take salt for granted these days. Salt was quite valuable 150, 200 years ago. So this might be something else. It could be like a talcum powder or whatever. Pretty cool, little shaker. Everyday item back then. All right, check this out. This is something I've only found one of, and I didn't get to keep it last time. Hopefully the landowner allows me to keep this one today. But this is a heel plate for a boot. Now, I mean, you can look at how small it is. This would have been for a woman's boot. There's a little myth attributed to these. I don't think it's true, but it's fun to talk about. I've heard through the grapevine, other people who metal detect, who find these heel plates with the hearts on them, that they were oftentimes worn by ladies of the night, we'll call them. And as they walked, they would leave little heart prints for men to follow. We'll put it that way. I think it's pretty cool. I think they're just a pretty heart design on here. But like I said, it's kind of a funny story. Awesome. A little heart plate for the heel of a boot, lady's boot. Beautiful. So I've kind of walked over to a new area here. I thought to myself, you know, the leaves on the ground are fairly new, within probably a couple of weeks. And I noticed there's like what looks like dig holes, somebody metal detecting here recently. The landowner said, you know, I'm supposedly the first one. Take a look at this. See, there, bunch over there. And that's not actually dig holes. I moved the needles aside to make sure those are places where deer were scratching, looking for something to eat, looking for green shoots. I actually did spook two earlier today. You know, just a couple of weeks, there's going to be hunters everywhere out here looking for them. Not yet though, we still have a little bit of time before we have to start wearing orange. Check this out. Now, this is something that I find fairly regularly, but not usually this much of it. Look at this. This is broken, unfortunately, but this is the inner workings of a clock. Hard to say how old it is, but the iron spring is still there and still in somewhat good condition. Not quite working condition, but and there's little gears in here, you can see something like this. I say over and over again when I find these things that sometimes you can get a patent date or a manufacturer off these plates. I don't think I ever have in the videos, but except one that I found many years ago. I was able to get a patent date, but I'll look extra hard on these and see if we can. Cool, old clock. All right, well, this is actually the second oil lamp that I found today. They're very, very, very common metal detecting sites of this age. The only reason I'm showing it is because there is a lot of visible writing on the spinner here. All right, you see that? Looks like Collins. Down here, 1865. That's a September. That's the patent date. So these are always fun to find when there is actually text on the end. You know, these things were very necessary back then to have light. There probably would be one in every room in the house. Pretty cool. Oil lamp, very common, but not always do we get this. Okay, well, I just found a lamp piece here. I had jumped over this wall. Let me show you. The cellar is way up here. And I'm looking around, and I think that this might be where they threw their garbage. Because you can see right here, we've got a little, what looks like cooking vessel. And then right over here, we have another vessel of some kind. Another one there too. If I had to guess, I would suspect there's some bottles. Look at this. It's like a fruit jar. Yeah, I bet for sure this is where they were throwing their garbage. Well, there's going to be a ton of targets in here, but let's see if maybe we can find some solid ones, and maybe some bottles will pop out. That would be cool. Alright, well, I am spending a couple minutes digging in this dump, and it's definitely a dump. There is just glass everywhere here. Found a brick. Big old bottom of a bottle here. And I found two of these. See if I can make it out using both of these. J.W. Barosles, I think so, and Son, February 10th, 1903. So we're looking at about 100 years old here. So that's pretty cool. We're going to keep looking for some whole ones, but I'm not too optimistic because everything here is just absolutely shattered. I haven't even found anything close to being whole. This is about as big as I found, so we'll go a little bit longer, and if we don't happen to find anything, then we'll move on and use our metal detector. Alright, well, right underneath this really pretty red berry bush here, I got a beautiful target. It's an 81. That could be a nice big piece of brass, hopefully a coin. I don't know, we'll see. What do we have here? Huh. You know what? It appears to be a pendant of some kind. I think it's religious. Now, folks find these often enough, but this is the first one of anything like this I've ever found. It feels very, very light. I'm wondering if this is aluminum, maybe? I don't think it's silver. Interesting. I'm gonna get my water out. Give this a brush here. Yeah, there's definitely something on there. You know, maybe this is silver. Not really sure what this material is. It's cleaning up like silver would. Alright, so we got this cleaned up. On what I'm calling the reverse is two figures, one with angel wings, looks female, and a small child. And on this side, with the text, it says, Saint Anne, pray for us. Now, I did a quick Google search on my phone, and it seems Saint Anne was the mother of Mary, and therefore the grandmother of Jesus. Now, I don't think this is silver. I think it is like an aluminum or some other light metal. I'm going to say it's period with this place. You know, this building could have been here into the early 1900s, and this doesn't seem out of place to me. That's very, very interesting. That's the find of the day so far, for sure. Never found a religious medallion or necklace like this before, so finding it at a place like this is exciting for me. Very cool. You know, it's kind of funny. I've explored big logging operations like this in the past, most notably the Glossenbury operation, which I actually made a video on, Eddie and I did. And that has its own interesting story, but the places I've had the opportunity to metal detect, typically we don't find much. They were businesses, people kind of went to work, cut logs, they didn't spend a lot of time at the structures. And typically you don't find a whole lot, but this place is different, for sure. You know, there's all of these kind of ornamental plants, bushes, these little pretty berry bushes. I'm not exactly sure what they are, but they've changed color along with the trees. And you can see old lily leaves. You know, people clearly lived here as a home, and there was probably a lady of the house that wanted to make it pretty out here. You know, if we didn't have the landowner's information that somebody lived here after the operation happened, probably never would have attempted to come out here and try this. Alright, we're going to keep going. The sun is shining now. It's beautiful out here. Let's see what else we can find. Got a little airplane going overhead, if you can hear that. I just got a pretty cool find. I've found quite a few of these recently, but I've never found an iron one. Usually these are brass. This is a reins guide for a carriage or a wagon, and pretty common back in those days. Horses and oxen were used for everything, and These were used to keep the reins nice and tidy. Cool. Jeez, the plane sounds like it's right on top of me. Alright, onward. Alright, well I got a target that's identical to all that sheet metal. It wound up being this little I don't know what it is. At first I thought it was a spoon, but I don't think it is. I'm trying to find my toothbrush here. I saw this on the back, this kind of clamshell design, which is very similar to the backs of like colonial era spoons. That's a little bit too early for this place. And I noticed this on the back. It looks kind of like a heart. So like I said, I thought it was a spoon, like this would have been the handle and this would have been the broken bowl, but this is definitely the way it should be back here, rounded off. Mystery. Let me know what you think. Very heavy, like a tomback material. Not sure. Throw it in the bag and see what else we can find here. Well, I find horseshoes every so often. I've just found one of the likes that I've never seen before. I'm fairly certain it is a horseshoe because of this lip right here. Look at this. It's just, they're like spikes on the back. Now I don't see any nail holes. So I'm wondering if maybe it's just not done. Or, I don't know. Maybe it isn't a horseshoe at all. I thought it was because of this little guy right here, which you see on horseshoes, but there's no way to attach it to the foot, to the hoof. Folks that are more knowledgeable in horses than I, let me know what you think about that. Maybe it has a specific purpose, like for ice or something. I don't know. Pretty cool. Oh, all right. This is it's a beautiful 85 target. Now it's a 91. Let me bring the camera closer. I see some iron staining, which is getting me nervous. What is this? Oh, is that a copper? If it was a copper, I could go home happy. It rang very, very high. But it was laying flat down. Yeah, this is definitely a coin. We're just trying to figure out what it could be. If I had to guess, I'd say a large cent. Alright, I've been working on this for a while now, and I think that this is the back where it says 1 cent of a large cent. You can see that kind of wreath, circle shape. We flip it over, and I think that that's a left-facing bust. 1830s, 1840s. Hard to say, but man, it's been a long day. It's beautiful out here, but fighting through all of that sheet metal and stuff, it's just been brutal. We're going to spend a little bit longer here. We have about a half an hour left, but this is the last thing we find today. More than happy with that. Alright folks, we're going to call it a day. It was pretty slow for a home site. Seems like they probably lived here for 50, 60 years, generation. But I'm wondering if somebody has metal detected here in the past, because there really wasn't a whole lot of non-ferrous things to find. Although there was a ton of that brass sheeting. Maybe I just couldn't find it, but I dug a lot of that stuff today. More than my fair share. Regardless, the things we found, they're very indicative of, you know, a typical life in the 1800s, early 1900s up here in the mountains of Vermont. I had fun today. Let's take a look at everything I found. Starting from the back, I did find 2.5 lamps back here. And something I didn't mention or didn't notice when I showed you this lamp earlier, is it actually has 2 spinner dials. This one has the writing, this one does not. I've never seen that before. I don't know what the 2 of them would do, but usually one of them makes the wick go up. Interesting. Our iron reins guide. Here we have a little very feminine buckle. It's very, very light. 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 spoons. These 2 things here are buttons, but this I thought was a button. I didn't show this earlier. It's full of lead in the back. So this might be just a little appointment for leather or something. Maybe it was a very heavy button. Big old clock mechanism over here. 2 plates still intact with all the gears still in there. A thimble, large cent, I think. You can see that the corrosion on here is starting to chip off. It's had the time to dry out. the log got it wet here again. I think it's probably a large sand. If I can get it cleaned up, I'll let you know. And then finally the religious medallion, which I think are probably pretty common. I mean, people still wear them today, and they're probably virtually unchanged, but I've never found one, so that was some excitement for me. All right, folks, I'm going to start the long hike on out of here. Thanks again for watching, and hopefully I'll see you next time.